Hello everyone, welcome and welcome back to my channel. My name is Thlologelo Rampa and this is Relocate to Australia with Promise. I so badly want to say your number one relocation DIY platform. But then I'm thinking to myself, how did you know that it was number one? I qualified it, okay? This is your number one DIY relocation platform. So if you want to relocate to Australia without the help of an agent, this is the place to be, okay? I got the spiel about how you can do it. Anyways, guys, today I'm going to be talking about something very important because we are experiencing COVID very worldwide. It is just something that we're experiencing. You know, it has been so difficult these past couple of weeks because I've been going on social media and there was just so many RIPs. I've been getting messages and calls from family back home telling me about people that have passed, and I'm like, yo, you know, you look at them and you're like, these are people that you know, these are people that you went to school with, these are people that you have experienced life with, and you're like, yo, guys, this is real. And I also get a lot of messages from people back home on my Instagram, my Facebook, and my WhatsApp. Most of the people on my WhatsApp are my family. And they're asking me, how Promise, why don't you have any masks on? Why are you still going to the beach? Are you guys not on a lockdown? And all of that. And I always have to kind of explain to them how we are experiencing COVID this side. So I just thought, you know what? Let me just have this discussion and just get it out of the way. As to how we are experiencing COVID this side and how I know my people back in South Africa are experiencing COVID. So at the moment with us here in Australia, wearing mask is more optional. I think where I'm in Harvey Bay. But I know in the past week, if you were like in Brisbane, the past couple of weeks, because they had an outbreak, I think part of their restrictions, they had gone into a lockdown and they had to wear masks and they had to like have precautionary stuff done. But again, with us, because we're just about 3 hours outside of Brisbane, if you've traveled to Brisbane, then you'd have to get tested if you felt like you had symptoms or you had to quarantine. The thing with Australia, they're very strict, but they're not as strict as most other countries. We are strict, but not really. But I think also people here do sometimes adhere to the regulations and the rules, which I think also helps with outbreaks and all of that. Well, anyway, these are the people who bought toilet papers when, and they were ready. So you can just imagine if you're going to worry about toilet paper, the minute they're like, hey, outbreak, you'll be at home locking yourself in the house. And I also think because of the technology and them being advanced, like as a first world country, people are able to work from home. So that kind of also minimizes a whole lot of situations going on. But the thing also, when I sat down and I thought about this, I was like, you know what? In South Africa, we've got like a very large population and it is overpopulated and it is very small. Australia is different. Australia is like a continent country. It's like one big continent that has been split into, I think, about 8 different states. Well, so Australia is like one big continent, and then they've got this other one outside of the mainland what do they call it, a state, which is Tasmania. It's still part of Australia, but it's not inland. It's like outside there on the ocean. So they do say it is like, I don't know if they call it a continent or a country, but anyway, in South Africa it's different because we've got the whole of Africa and then we've got South Africans here at the bottom. And again, I was looking at population sizes as well. I'm like, well, when you look at the population size and you look at the stats as to the when you look at the population size and you look at the stats as to how many people have contracted COVID, how many people have been tested, how many people have died from it, you always kind of have to compare it with the population size. So for me, I just feel like, okay, fine. I think maybe because in Australia, a lot of people are just all over the place, that minimize that contact where people would then be having contact with people that are COVID positive. But again, I think what we've seen happen here is that most places where there have been cases or outbreaks, it was in your Brisbane, your Sydney, and your Melbourne. So Melbourne is the capital of Victoria. New South Wales capital is Sydney, and then for Queensland, as I mentioned, is Brisbane. So when I was just doing my research about what is going on, Victoria is one that got hit the most. And it happened during the time when they had it was after the Black Lives Matter protests. I think that might have had something to do with the large numbers of cases that they've experienced. But even after, they still experienced like a big outbreak. And so it was number one in deaths and in reported cases. New South Wales, I think, was second, but also it's because New South Wales has a very also large population of people, especially when you look at Sydney, where it's like Sydney. So a lot of people are in Sydney, and obviously when you are when you're having something like this where it's like COVID and what do they call it, communicatable, that thing, disease, then obviously people are gonna be passing it to each other very quickly. And then obviously in Queensland, we don't have that much of a big population, but we still have a large number of people. But I think it was well managed. In other states, they didn't really experience it as bad as Queensland, New South Wales, and Victoria. I know in the Northern Territory, there was a point in time where everyone was in a frantic and like, oh my God, COVID. And they were like, we got nothing. We all good. Don't come to us, okay? We good. You stay there. We are all up there. We good. Stay down, okay? Stay there with your things. So I think, anyway, Australia being a first world country, they've managed it very well. But I also think it's more of like a thing where people are scared. And when they're scared, they listen, I guess. But also I think it's because they are in situations where they can manage to stay at home. And the government helps them. And the government will pay for stuff, and they can then safely stay at home and not be as impacted. Yes, obviously we cannot say that they are not impacted because there are mental health stuff going on. You can't see family. It is so difficult for anyone and everyone worldwide. But in Australia, we're not experiencing COVID as I have seen my fellow South Africans and my fellow Africans experiencing COVID. Even this side, there were people who lost jobs. But then the government was able to give them some money to kind of cope. So, and the money, you look at it like, because me, I'm always converting to rent. I'm like, Malengago, you've been given so much money. Hey, you're giving money. Because for me, it's a lot of money, okay? Because I'm still converting it to the South African rands. And when I found out about the money that South Africans are being given, I'm like, sure. Hi. Guys, I feel so horrible for my fellow South Africans because I feel like they're just so helpless at the moment. And I know that obviously some first world countries have then loaned South Africans some money and not even one hospital was built. And it's like, oh, those people ate the money again. Oh, they ate the money. But it is what it is, You can only do what you can. The other good thing about Australia is that they are able to track people's movements. So at the moment, they've got this thing, it's like a barcode thingy. And when you get to, like, let's say, for example, you go into the zoo or something like that, you scan that code, it pops up, you scan it, you just go into your camera, and then you hover around the barcode, and then it's going to pop up a link where you're going to then put in your details, your address, your contact details, phone numbers, and I think email address. So should there be someone that has a confirmed case and you were around that place maybe in the next 5-6 days of that after the person was confirmed to be positive, then they will contact you to let you know. So then you would either have to get tested or then have to quarantine or isolate and all of that, and or inform people around you, your family, your workmates, and all of that. So the nice thing about Australia, obviously, they are able to track people, because I know even on your license, you have to have your address. And should you move your address, should you move homes, you are supposed to update it or you're getting into trouble. So that's the good thing about being like in a first world country. They've got those resources to kind of track where people are. They're also very strict, because if you are in isolation and registered as somebody who should be isolating and the police find you in jail around, you get fined. You get fined. You can even get arrested. There have been people that got arrested because of not abiding by the rules or by lying and saying that they were not in whatever place when they were. So even if you have not even tested positive, but just because you lied and you've put people's lives at risk, you do get arrested and fined. And that's what is happening. So, and I know in South Africa, it's very difficult to like track people and where they are at, but it's always just touch and go, and then you see what happens. So just try and stay home, like as much as you can. don't do useless things like partying and then hanging around with friends and all of that, being in spaces where you should not be. Just try and minimize your movement as much as you can, because you're going to be getting this thing from outside, and you're going to come home where you've got cousins and family and brothers and sisters and grandmothers and aunties and uncles who abided by the rules, and you're going to go out there, get this thing and bring it to them. It is not right, okay? So for as much as possible, if you can stay at home, please do. The reason why I felt it was important to have this discussion about COVID is because I've had a lot of people say to me, well, Promise, I can't do anything because things like it's lockdown and I can't go anywhere. I can't contact anyone. I can't get anything signed. I can't get this. I can't go write an English test. I can't do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 because of this. And I think it's about 2 people that felt so discouraged when they told me, because I like checking on people and saying, hey, dude, how are you going? How are things going? How's the process going for you? And I had these 2 girls tell me, you know what, Promise, we've given up. I'm done. I just feel crippled. I can't do anything. And I felt so horrible because I had a conversation with them and said, because I always want to encourage people and empower them. And I'm like, dude, you remember you told me that you want to do this because of this. Why have you forgotten? Okay, you need to do this. You need to do this. You need to remember. And this is why it's very important. And that's why I had this discussion in my 2 initial videos when I started this platform, was know why. You need to know why you are immigrating. You need to know why you are leaving Africa, South Africa, or wherever you are, because that is that one reason that is going to sustain you in this process. You cannot afford an agent. So there's no one that's going to be pushing you for paperwork. There's no one and because you can't afford it, obviously there's no money that's going to be put on the table. So you might be thinking that you're not losing any money by giving up, but you are losing that drive. You are losing the reason. You are losing the dream that you had as to why you wanted to leave South Africa, as to why you wanted to leave wherever you are, going to Australia or wherever you want to go. Do not allow COVID to cripple you. Do not allow COVID to discourage you and for it to be then alpha and omega. It's done. We can't help you. Don't allow that to happen. And I know it is very difficult, but for me, I feel like with COVID, sometimes you need to think of it also as something positive, because I feel it is that one thing that pushes you to say that, look, you don't want to experience COVID in this country like this. You don't want to experience something like COVID in a country like this ever. For me, I always try to see positive in whatever situation. I think that's just how I grew up, being able to just say, okay, fine, this is what I'm dealing with. This is the situation. What am I going to do with whatever that's going on? Because with COVID also, there are people that had positives. Like, for example, you can get someone that has not been employed as a nurse or as a health professional for 10 years because there were no jobs wherever, like, for example, in South Africa. And for the first time in 10 years, you are able to use the skills and your qualifications, and you can now have that work experience on your resume because the health sector needed people. For some people, they were able to then buy houses. For some people, they were able to get jobs. For some people, they were able to advance themselves in life. For some people, they even came up with business ideas for the first time in their lives because of COVID. For me, I always believe in a yin and a yang. All the time. In anything that is positive, there's a negative. In anything that's a negative, there's a positive. So you just need to find where you are going to sit in this situation. And I also think that COVID is sometimes a blessing, because I think we got to slow down and we got to then assess our situations and say, okay, what is going on in our life? Some people, even in their relationships, they got to see that, okay, this is the person that I don't want to be with, or this is the person that I want to be with, because you got supported and you got to see people's true colors when they are hit by something like this. And you now know, okay, I think this is the person that I can experience whatever and anything with. And for some people, it's like, this is, that one. But all this time when I had doubts about a person and I didn't know why I should leave them, this is why I should leave them. So it really depends on how you take it. We have this one family friend, my husband and I, that had, before this COVID madness, that had a job, we helped the guy to get a job. And then the job was sponsored, so they paid for his flights and everything. Just a week before boarding, just a week before being able to board the flight coming to Australia, South Africa went into a lockdown. And they're stuck at home at the moment. And it's just like, what are they going to do? And I know it is so difficult and so hard, but I always believe that there's always revelations in whatever that is going on in our lives. Maybe God is trying to reveal something to them. We don't know. We'll never know until that revelation comes forth, right? And I also believe that, sometimes things will happen to you as a test, and it is really, 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 really up to you to decide what you are going to do with that test. For me, COVID is a test. It is just a test as to how are you going to deal with problems in life, especially with things that you have no control over. There are some people that might have not experienced life in a difficult manner, and this is the first time they're experiencing something so difficult. This is the time for you to gym, Baba. You must gym and be strong, because it might not be the last time where you're experiencing something so difficult. So make sure that you've got some level of faith and some level of understanding that maybe something is being revealed to you right now. You just have to find yourself in a space where you can listen. And you listen to whatever that talks to you and whatever that it tells you. I know it is so hard during COVID. At the moment in Australia, they're not receiving any flights from South Africa. I'm not sure if they're receiving any flights from anywhere else anyway. But I know for sure, because I only just follow what is going on between South Africa and Australia. So they are not receiving any flights from South Africa. But my husband was telling me that there might be, I think after we are sure that this vaccine really is working, they might allow people to travel into Australia from different parts of the world, as long as you've got that certificate to say that you have been vaccinated. But I think maybe that is really, really, really dependent on how much they trust that vaccine that you have in the country that you're at, and all these kind of things that the government will then be trying to protect its people here in Australia. So obviously there's slow movement with relocating. I'm not sure if assessing authorities. I remember receiving I think it was an email from somebody last year telling me that they had sent their documents to the Australian Association for Social Workers, and they got a response back saying that the people were working from home, so the process is going to be delayed. So I was like, yeah, well, that's good news, because they did not reject you. So just wait. Even if you are unable to send your documents right now, or you are unable to gather documents right now, do not give up. Because I feel like also, even when you are in lockdown, and I know it is so stressful for some people, but if you keep busy and you keep occupied, you won't have time for stress. So what I will advise you to do, as I mentioned to you guys, it is very important for you to be ready and prepared to relocate, because only when you are ready and you are prepared, it is going to make this journey much more easy. Use this time and this opportunity to then gather as much information as possible. Explain to you guys, go into the websites, read, gather information. So by the time when everything goes back to normal, hopefully it is soon. We're praying. When people are no longer in lockdowns and all of that, then at least you know that when you are geared with information, you've got all this information and you're ready, and you've got a whole list about where you're going to get information, what you're going to do, the time frames and everything. And then when they're like, everything is ready, everything is open, when I just go here, you gather your paperwork real quickly, you get it signed, you get it stamped, you get it all ready. Post office is now open. Karabasha. You send the documents. You get what I mean? And also the other thing is that don't give up where you are not contacting people here in Australia. One thing I will tell you, yes, people here in Australia are back at work. We are not experiencing lockdowns as other people are in the world. So even if we do have lockdowns, a lot of people are still working, but they'll be working from home because, well, anyway, they can afford for people to take their computers home. They've got internet, fast work internet. It's way cheaper here in Australia, having internet access. So people will still be working. I don't know with other organizations, but I know a lot of people are still working if you are able to work on your computer. So try and contact people. Still, it's okay where you then be gathering information, because anyway, you're in lockdown. If you can't be doing anything, then use this time to gather information, contact people. And you can even just contact like a couple of jobs and say, hey, Joe, I'm in South Africa, I'm planning to come to Australia. Do you have any vacancies? Yes, no. If they're like, no, we need people with visas, you're like, okay, I'm going to get a visa, I'm coming back, I'll contact you after a while. And then you do that, okay? So do not be discouraged. Do not be discouraged. I know it is hard, and I know it is very hard to be encouraged at this point in time because of everything that is going on. But literally, for me, every time when I feel like I'm depressed, or I'm going into a hole, or I'm sinking into a hole, I always say to myself, promise. You need to make that decision, bruh. Are you going under or what? And I'm like, I don't want to go under. And like, yeah, get up, hey, get up. Because what I've just decided about life is that life is just a bunch of decisions. That's all. From literally in the morning when you wake up, is a decision as to, am I waking up or not? Okay, I have to wake up. Ish, okay, I've decided to wake up. Okay, are you going to brush your teeth or not? Okay, I have to brush my teeth because my breath will stink. Brush my teeth. Are you going to do your hair or not? I won't do my hair today. Okay, it's a decision you make. So literally anything and everything in your life is a decision. So now when you wake up in the morning during lockdown, okay, are you going to wake up during lockdown or you're going to sleep because you're in lockdown? Me, I'm going to sleep. Okay, sleep. Okay, no, I'm going to wake up. Why are you waking up? I'm waking up because I need to go onto the internet and I need to find out this information and I need to start working on my goals. You are being given a chance, okay? A lot of people right now are not having that privilege where they have breath going in and out of their lungs that easy. Okay, they're not even sure if they're going to make it tomorrow. And this is the thing that COVID has also taught us, to be so appreciative of life. And I think this is something that we've taken for granted because we thought, tomorrow is promised. I don't know who promised us, but we think, no, tomorrow I'll still be here. You might not be here tomorrow. So for the mere fact that you're watching this video, you're watching me right now, you have been given another opportunity. So do not take it for granted. Do not take it for granted. Don't at all. Don't think when you are stuck in life. There's nothing. For the mere fact that there's breath going in and out of your life, you've been given another chance. So use it. So do not be discouraged. Just things might be on a standstill right now. We might not know what is going to happen in the next coming days, in the next coming weeks, in the next coming month. But just make sure that before you go, you have done something with your life. Because we are going. All of us, we are going to die. There's a day where we are going to be called. So make sure that by the time that you are being called, don't fight with God. I'm like, God, but I did not do 1, 2, 3. Like, I gave you all this chance. I'm taking you now. So by the time when God comes to take you, I'm like, I've completed everything that you have sent me to do here. God, take me. So get yourself in the position where you say to yourself, you know what? I've lived my life. I did as best as I can. And I made sure that I lived the life that I wanted to live. And even when it was difficult and it was hard, I pushed through. Don't just give up, Baba. Giving up should never be an option. I always say this, do not give up. So guys, take care of yourselves, wear your mask, do all the things that the precautionary stuff going on. Just do them. I know it's going to be difficult. I know it's going to be hard, but just know that for as long as you've got a phone and you're watching me, you've got your life in your hands. You've got information in your hands. Use it. The minute you get off watching Promise on Relocate to Australia with Promise, you go onto the Australian website and you start playing around there, okay? That's what you should be doing during the lockdown. So take care of yourself, guys. I'll see you next week. We're going to be going back into discussing visa options because I want you then to know and be ready for when we go back to normal and you guys are alive and well and are present for you then to start applying for visas and jobs and all of that. We're going to be covering things about how to apply for jobs, how to do Skype interviews and all of that. So take care of yourself, guys, and I'll see you again next week.